Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this week's episode of Dear Nero, the weekly Q&A here at my channel where subscribers send in questions and I answer them. It's a very simple process, but typically this video goes up every single Wednesday. Unfortunately, we end up missing this Wednesday, but it was for good reason, I suppose. It was my birthday. I turned 30 yesterday. Obviously spent the day with family and everything, and that was fantastic. And here we are on Thursday doing this week's episode of Dear Nero. I've got to say, yesterday was a pretty humbling day. I kind of sat there and reflected for a while about how my 20s went, and honestly, my 20s were mostly a blur, and that's not just from the drinking and all that, but it's also because my entire 20s were spent here on YouTube, essentially. This channel was made on July 2nd of 2011, same year I turned 20, and now here we are, over 10 years later, and in that time, I actually searched this up so I can get an accurate number, but we have 3,031 videos here on the main channel. We have 1,676 videos on the second channel, which equals 4,707 videos between my two channels in the past decade, not to mention the hundreds, if not thousands of hours streamed, not to mention playing video games just, not on camera, essentially. So, yeah, my 20s were mostly spent on video games, essentially, and that was pretty fun. I'm super blessed to be where I'm at with YouTube and everything. YouTube has been going fantastic, especially as of recently, and not too often can people do this for 10 years, but somehow my channel has kind of withstood the test of time, and I'm forever thankful that you guys give me a position, or put me in a position, rather, to be able to do this every single day and make this my full-time thing, and still be able to enjoy it over a decade later. So that's been fantastic. And typically, we also start these videos off here with a bit of a health update, a bit of a personal update. Things have been going good. I mean, it's just been basically the same old, I would say. I would say it's actually getting a little bit weird at this point, being sober for so long, because I don't know, it just feels odd to be sober for this long, because it's the longest I've been in a very long time. And I passed over 50 days of doing 10,000 steps a day every single day. That was pretty cool. My 50th day was actually, what was it, the day before my birthday? Technically, yeah, it was the day before my birthday. Like, when the clock struck midnight, that's when it ended up happening. And, yeah, that was pretty cool. So I hit 50 days of that, been sober 56, something like that, taking Prozac every day as well. So things have been going really well in that sense. A bit more anxious as of late. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it's just all the stress with the YouTube channel and keeping up with that and keeping up with my social life and personal life and, friends and family and things like that. I don't know. Been a bit more anxious as of late for sure. But nothing too bad, nothing too serious. But in general, things are going good. And I know you guys look forward to an update every single week. And yeah, so things have been going pretty well. Let's jump into it, man. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the questions here. We have a good number of questions here, but also I'm recording this video pretty late tonight. So I'm going to try and get through these as fast as I can to make it so it's a bit of a shorter of a video, so I have time to get this rendered and uploaded at a decent hour, hopefully. But the very first question is going to be coming in from Tasuki, who writes, Dear Nero, hope you had a great birthday. So other than Call of Duty and Madden, what games did you grow up with, and do you still enjoy / play them to this day? Well, thank you, Tasuki. My birthday was actually pretty great. Spent a day with Courtney, and yeah, we had Chinese, and we watched the Hey Arnold movie. We watched just watched some shows, played some board games, kind of stuff like that, like just basic family stuff. And it was pretty good. Really enjoyed my birthday. It was fantastic. But what games did I grow up with other than COD and Madden, and do I still play / enjoy them to this day? I grew up playing PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. Before that, I had a Sega Genesis. My very first system ever was a Sega Genesis and a Game Boy Color. So I grew up playing Sonic, not Mario. I was never a Nintendo guy, really, with the exception of Pokemon. I had a Game Boy Color, and I played Pokemon Blue. That was my very first game, and then I got Red and Yellow, trading with other kids in elementary school, as you did back then. Growing up in the 90s, I am so thankful I grew up in the 90s, because, man, the 90s were something else. So much fun. In fact, I mentioned it 5 times so far here in this series, but we've been going back and watching old 90s stuff that we grew up with, and that's been really fun. We're about to finish, sadly, the original series of Are You Afraid of the Dark, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. It just really depends on the episode, I suppose. But it's so nostalgic, to watch the old 90s shows, man. I love it. And back then when I grew up during that time, it was fantastic. I was so happy to grow up and, be trading Pokemon cards and trading Pokemon, because I was the one kid that had the Game Link to connect our Game Boys together so we could actually trade. I was like that kid on the playground. So I was a pretty big deal back then. And of course, Yu-Gi-Oh was a big thing. Magic was a big thing. But yeah, I definitely played a lot of Pokemon. I still play Pokemon Pokemon to this day, off and on. I do a number of Pokemon series on my second channel. Other than that, I played a lot of branded games, if that makes any sense. Like The Simpsons, Hit and Run, The Simpsons Road Rage, even the notorious Simpsons Wrestling and Simpsons Skateboarding. I played all those games, loved them all. I didn't care how bad they were. I was just happy to be within the Simpsons universe. You know what I mean? I was happy to drive a car around Springfield and for a second get that feeling that I was there, you know? And the same is true of the South Park first-person shooter game. There was also a South Park Rally game, which is like a Mario Kart rip-off. Just to name some games off the top of my head. I remember the driver games, lots of WWE games, like SmackDown 2, you know, SmackDown versus Raw, that kind of thing. Off the top of my head here, again, branded games like Rocket Power, anything Rocket Power related growing up, maybe Rugrats even, because we were Nickelodeon kids growing up. So yeah, I played just lots of games like that. And do I still play any to this day? The only one I really still play, I would say, is Pokemon, but I've done a number of series on my second channel. Like we did a full series of South Park Rally just for nostalgia's sake for the N64. Well, I emulated it on N64 emulator. It was the Dolphin emulator. And then there was, what was it? It was the Simpsons Hit and Run. How did I forget that? Yeah, Simpsons Hit and Run. We did a full playthrough of that as well, which was so much fun. But yeah, so those are the games I grew up with, and I still play some of them to this day. Mostly for nostalgia's sake, though. The next question is coming in from Dante, who writes, Dear Nero, do you see yourself making Call of Duty videos in your 40s? I don't know, man. That's hard to say. 10 years from now? Like, where's COD going to be in 10 years? I bet COD will still be around in some capacity, but will COD be as popular as it is now in 10 years? That's a good question for the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Do you think COD is going to be this juggernaut that lasts another decade, or do you think it's going to piddle out here in this decade with all the things happening at Activision? I would love to hear about that down there in the comments. But I see myself still on YouTube in my 40s, yes. Will I be making Call of Duty videos? I am not sure. It depends on where the franchise goes. But then again, with all the shit we've gone through in the past 10 years, I mean, what more could they possibly do to make the franchise worse? So I guess we'll see. But yeah, I definitely see myself doing YouTube into my 40s for sure. As long as there's an audience, I'll always be here. The next question is going to be coming in from Chase, who writes, Dear Nero, will you consider releasing merch anytime soon? Would love to rock a Nero t-shirt. I would like to do some merch, but what in the world? Do you guys hear that? I'm not sure if you guys heard that or not. I guess I'll know when I go to edit this and do edit the recording together. But my dog was chewing up a water bottle behind me. I'm like, what is that noise? I turn around. He's sitting there. Oh, hey, Dad. Every now and then I show pictures of my dog on stream. Here are going to be some pictures right here for you guys. He's an adorable dog. He's half black lab, half Australian shepherd, which basically means he's like a big black lab. And for some reason, I guess Australian shepherds, they usually dock their tail when they're born. I mean, I adopted him when he was 2 years old, so I didn't have a choice in this. But they docked his tail, so he kind of looks like a Rottweiler a little bit from behind. He's got the little stubby tail. But basically just a big, bulky, lovable, goofy black lab is what he is. He's adorable. His name's Shax, and he's always behind me, like all the time. He follows me everywhere, and he likes to chew on water bottles, apparently. So sorry about that if that was like an annoying noise for you guys. But will I be releasing any merch anytime soon? I would love to. I'm not entirely sure what I would do for designs, though. So if for nothing else than my own vanity, I think I would like try to hire somebody to make a cool design, and then maybe try and put that together and get some shirts out there. Because the only merch I've ever done was in Black Ops 3, which was forever ago, and I sold socks. They were Nero socks, one of a kind, KD improving footwear. Which was funny. I think we sold like 20 pairs or something like that. So if you're one of the OGs that have Nero socks, let me know down there in the comments. But next question here is coming in from Clay, who writes, Dear Nero, do you think Modern Warfare 2 Remastered multiplayer will ever come out? I said it before, I'll say it again. If it's going to come out, because it's rumored that the next COD title is going to be Modern Warfare Roman numeral 2. If they're going to release Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remastered, like the original multiplayer, then it would have to be before that game comes out. So it would have to be sometime this year. And we do see the Vanguard sales are pretty damn low. And I think they've been holding Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, the remaster of that anyway, off until they, it's like an ace up their sleeve at Activision, I feel like. And because right now they're not making a ton of money with Vanguard, if they can't right the ship with Vanguard, I can see them releasing a remaster of the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer this year sometime. But if it doesn't happen this year, then who knows, man? We might be several years away from it if it doesn't come out this year, because there's no way they're going to keep releasing, new Modern Warfare titles and then release Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remaster. Just the naming alone is such a mess. But then again, Call of Duty is not exactly good at making names. I mean, how do you release? I said so many times, but how do you release Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 years after Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered? It doesn't make any sense, COD branding is horrible. But regardless, I definitely see them releasing it at some point in the future, and I think it could be this year, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how the coming months of Vanguard are going to happen. I mean, for crying out loud, we're still waiting on the first major update for Vanguard, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. The next question is coming in from Tom, who writes, Dear Nero, with the recent news of Call of Duty sales dropping significantly, are you worried about your YouTube channel's future with the inherent loss of views this will bring? That's actually a very niche question, but no, I'm not overly worried about it. I feel as though I've kind of carved out my own niche corner of the internet here, and people will watch until they all get sick of COD. But then again, there's so many people, and I'm sure you guys will say this in the comments, but there's so many people that still watch my videos, even though they don't play COD anymore. They quit COD, last year, or during Modern Warfare 2019, or whenever they quit COD, but they still enjoy my videos from time to time. Somebody came in my Twitch chat last night and said he's been watching me since Ghosts, and he says it's weird. He says not to take it weirdly, but my voice is nostalgic to him. I'm like, oh my god, I am old, aren't I? I've been around doing this for a while, man. So yeah, I'll be doing it as long as I possibly can. I'm not worried about my channel. Call of Duty, yes, while there may be less eyeballs on Call of Duty YouTube videos and stuff, there's less people playing it. I think Call of Duty is still big enough that there's people out there that they can make entire YouTube channels around. There's this one guy I used to watch that would make an entire video or entire channel on Heroes of the Storm, which is a MOBA game by Blizzard that was very niche and never very popular. It just never took off, despite the fact that it probably should have. But yeah, even he was able to have his YouTube channel because it was niche and people knew him for that game and they enjoyed that game. So I feel like regardless of what happens to COD in the future, I feel like people will always come to my channel for COD if they still have an interest in it. So I'm not too worried about it personally, but of course you never know, and I'll adapt my channel as I need to as things go forward. The next question is going to be coming in from Sopa. Remember Sopa from way back in the day? But his name is Sopa, and he writes, Dear Nero, random question, but why don't you use the old photo of Stalin at his desk in the thumbnail for Dear Nero? Long-time subscriber since high school 8 years ago, and it's a random nostalgic memory of the good old days for whatever reason. By the way, happy birthday. So why don't I use the old Stalin thumbnail? So I used to have, if you search up Dear Nero on YouTube, I used to have a thumbnail of Joseph Stalin in every episode of Dear Nero. And I thought it was just funny because when I had to make a thumbnail, because I did a series thumbnail back then. I don't do series thumbnails anymore. I think they're kind of silly to have the same thumbnail for different videos. It doesn't make any sense to me. But back then, I used to do series thumbnails. And so every Dear Nero had the same, Stalin thumbnail. And the reason why I had that was I literally just Googled something to the effect of man writing a letter, or World War II man writing a letter, or something like that. Because I wanted to have it be kind of war related, but not really. What game was out at the time when I started Dear Nero? I can't even remember. But maybe Ghosts? I can't remember. But either way, I want a military, a soldier, writing a letter. If anything, if I could get that old timey World War II soldier with a pipe and his pack of Luckies and his writing a letter to his sweetie or something like that, and have that be the thumbnail. That was the original idea behind it. And somehow the picture of Joseph Stalin writing a letter popped up on Google, and I'm like, there we go. We're going to rock Joseph Stalin. And it just kind of became a thing ever since then. But like I said, the reason why I don't use it anymore is I think the idea of using the same thumbnail for multiple videos is a bad idea. I think it's just going to make all the videos kind of blend together and make it so the videos don't do as well. So I try to make a unique thumbnail for every video that I make. And I do make all my thumbnails as well, but it's pretty obvious considering they're all pretty terrible looking. The next question is going to be coming in from Morphus, who writes, Dear Nero, what's your unforgettable COD memory? That's a good question. That's a really good question. For me, the thing that comes to mind, I always remember this so much, is Call of Duty World at War. Mostly playing Search and Destroy in Call of Duty World at War with my friends. I was a 16/17-year-old kid that would just rush home from school every day and hop on and then play Xbox with his buddies until 11 o'clock at night, whenever it was, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning on a school night, and we would just play all day, every day. We had so much fun. There wasn't a care in the world. And I remember playing on CeeLo, Search and Destroy, and we were just crawling through the wheat field on the Search and Destroy side of the map, because we thought, wait a minute, everyone's used to us rushing, this way, A or B or whatever. We are going to crawl. We're not going to run down middle. We're going to crawl down middle. They'll never see us coming. I think we're playing hardcore Search. And it worked. Yeah, we crawled to the other side of the map. The other team's like, where are they? And they probably thought we were trying to, be cheesy and run to the other end of CeeLo. Oh, no. We were there, and we planted the bomb and won. I remember that. I remember sniping out of the the 3-story building on CeeLo. I remember basically CeeLo in general. I remember the train car and sniping out the cracks in the bridge for the train bridge, not the train car, the train bridge. And that was super fun as well. Just so many random nostalgic memories of just goofing off with my friends playing Call of Duty World at War. So those are some of my favorite memories personally. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why to this day CeeLo is still my favorite map of all time. Despite the fact that I don't think it's the best like layout for a map or the best playing map in the history of ever, I think it's still my favorite map because of the nostalgia and the good times I've had on that map over all the years. The next question is going to be coming in from Thomas, who writes, Dear Nero, how would you feel about having a 4-year development cycle if it meant that Raven could make their own Call of Duty game? If you feel like they should just take over someone's year, which of the current 3 would you take for them or take out for them? Happy birthday for today. Well, thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. So I would like Raven Software to kind of like throw their hat into the ring as the 4th developer, which would give Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer even yet another year to complete their games. Because I think at this point, something just needs to happen. If COD's not going to take a year off, then COD needs to like get more developers or something, which I guess they've already been doing that. They've been co-opting so many different studios into making Call of Duty and working on Call of Duty as like side projects and stuff. But in general, I feel like, yes, I feel like it would be good to add Raven Software in there. Raven Software has never really gone out and made their own game, essentially. They did a great job with Modern Warfare Remastered, but then again, all they had to do was like copy someone else's homework and turn in the paper, essentially, so to speak. So we don't know exactly how well they would do, but I'd like to see them give a shot at it or take a shot at it. Why not? I mean, it'd be great to see that. But if I had to remove one of the 3 devs, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, or Sledgehammer, to make room for Raven, to see how Raven would do, I'd cut out Infinity Ward 100%. I know you guys are going to hate that. I have not, it sounds so, I promise I'm not just a Treyarch fanboy, but I have not properly liked and enjoyed an Infinity Ward game since Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 3 was okay. It was passable. But Sledgehammer Games half developed that game anyway. You know, the last time I really enjoyed like a proper Infinity Ward game was Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 3 was a game that was co-developed by Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Raven. Then after that, you had Call of Duty Ghosts, which was awful, in my opinion. We had Infinite Warfare, which was awful, in my opinion. Then we had Modern Warfare 2019, which is the worst COD ever made, in my opinion. So it's like the last 3 times we've seen Infinity Ward, I've not liked any of their games. I want to like their games, obviously, but I haven't. So it's been unfortunate. So I'd get rid of them if I had the choice. The next question is coming in from Velcity, who writes, Dear Nero, I love hearing about your sobriety updates, and recently I've been finding ways to trick my mind by going outside and smoking less and less each day. On a broad level, either alcohol or smoking, what advice can you give to people to take that first step? I'm only 19. So, Velocity, I am not, obviously, a medical doctor. I'm none of those things. And it seems to be because you put smoking right there with alcohol that we're talking about smoking weed as compared to smoking cigarettes. If you're smoking cigarettes, you shouldn't smoke cigarettes. But if you're smoking weed, obviously, I don't know. I feel like weed is better than alcohol, but I'm not going to pretend that weed is like somehow like a miracle drug. Like there are people out there that think that weed is right there next to exercise in terms of like how good it is for you. I think if you're looking to quit smoking weed, this is coming from someone who's only smoked like a dozen times in his life. If it's anything like alcohol, and it's kind of like the same thing, even though alcohol has physical addictions and weed doesn't, I get that. But if it's anything like alcohol, it comes to making routine changes and lifestyle changes. It's going to be very hard for you to quit smoking if you're constantly hanging around people that are smoking. The same way it would be basically impossible for me to drink if I was still going to the bar all the time because I wanted to go shoot pool. Not to get personal, but I have a friend like that who said he was going to quit drinking. He needed to quit drinking, but he still goes to the bars all the time because he has nothing else to do, basically. He has no other hobbies. He has nothing else to do, so he's always hanging out at the bars. His thing is, I'm going to go play pool. I'm going to go shoot pool. It's like, dude, okay, you're going to shoot pool and have a couple pictures of beers, what you're going to go down there and do. Like, I know what you're doing down there, but it's whatever. It's his life. I can offer all the advice and, you know, extend my ear and listen and stuff like that is only so much. You know, at a point, it comes down to you. And that's the thing about everybody and every addiction, every battle, is it's always going to come down to you. You have to want to make a change. And preferably, don't get to the point where I got, where you were basically forced to make a change because your life was spiraling out of control. If you can get to the point where you realize things are starting to get out of control, you know you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing, you know you would be in a better place in life if you were to make these changes, then start working on making those changes. And maybe don't do it all right away. Ease into it. I think so often the reason why people always fail when they go for like a New Year's resolution is because they try to go whole hog right away. And I'm guilty of that myself. Courtney will tell you that all day and night. Like every time I get this idea in my head, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But I get so invested in it that I end up overwhelming myself. Like right away, I was like, oh, I'm going to start doing 10,000 steps a day, and I'm going to work out, I'm going to lift, I'm going to do this and do that and clean up my diet and do all this all at the same time. And it's like, that's too much all at once. You're setting yourself up for failure. There's a thing like a goal to like clean your entire house, for example, is not a good goal because there will always be more to clean. It's just too overwhelming to say, I'm going to clean my entire house this afternoon. But instead, if you just clean the bathroom, for example, then you can actually accomplish that goal, feel good about yourself, and then tackle a different task the next day. The same thing comes to self-improvement, right? And obviously, again, not a doctor, not a motivational speaker or anything like that, but the big thing is if you want to quit drinking, if you want to quit smoking, if you want to quit nicotine, you want to quit whatever, it has to come from you actually wanting it, understanding why you want it, and then taking the baby steps to actually get there. But ultimately, it's going to come down to you. It's going to come down to you wanting to make that change and knowing why you want to make that change. You have to be motivated to do it. And what the problem for a lot of people, myself included, was waiting so long because they're like, oh, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm this, I'm that, things will be fine. Eventually, that stops being fine. And then eventually you get to the point where like, oh no, why did I let this get so bad? So don't get to that point. And, take steps. If you want to improve your life, you have to start. And, how many times in your life have you wanted to change something about your life? And you always thought, okay, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to do this the next day. I'm going to, people have been asking me a lot about the 10,000 steps a day thing. I do this every single day, 10,000 steps, no matter what. It's the equivalent of walking 5 miles, essentially. And rain, sleet, shine, whatever. Like literally tonight, I did half of my steps at our local Walmart because it's freezing outside and I didn't want to walk around town. I literally just aimlessly walked around Walmart and looked at stuff in the game section, just to get my steps in. But I do it every day because I want to keep that streak going. And I also want to make sure that I am being accountable, right? But at the same time, there's so many people that say they wish they could do that. They wish they could do 10,000 steps a day. They're going to talk about like, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to start the day after that. I'm going to do it eventually. Think about that. When's the last time you said you were going to start working out? Now imagine if you did, even if it was just a week ago. Imagine how much better you'd feel already right now if you just had actually worked out for the past week. You'd feel amazing, and you would. And you think to yourself, like, oh, why even bother today? It's going to take so long to get results, this, that, and the other thing. Time is going to pass regardless, man. Time is always going to keep on passing. So whether you start today or not, the best time to start is like literally right now. Like just start whatever it is you want to do, start it now. And then, 2 or 3 days are going to go by. And then before you know, you're like, wow, I've been doing this thing for 2 or 3 days. And I feel great about that. The same thing's true of like virtually everything in life. You just have to really want it and keep on going for it, and then keep yourself accountable, and also tell people about what you're doing, and hope that they help keep you accountable as well. That's my best advice. The next question is coming in from Courtney, believe it or not, who writes, Dear Nero, who is someone you look up to? I think it's actually a good question. I think I have an interesting response to it. Most of the people I look up to aren't real. That sounds really weird, right? Most of the people I look up to are fictional characters in either books, movies, TV shows, or whatever. And I admire not everything that they do, but I admire aspects of their personality, whether it's their conviction, their discipline, their work ethic, their passion, anything like that, right? There's different things I can enjoy about Hank Hill, for example, the same way there's different things I can enjoy about Murphy from the Boondock Saints. Like there's like so many, I look for like the positives in people, and then there's so many different kinds of people that I look up to for different reasons. And so I mostly just whether it's animated characters, TV characters, or whatever. It sounds corny as hell, I get that, but a lot of my heroes, quote unquote, I wouldn't call them heroes, but a lot of people I look up to, or people I find inspirational, I suppose, are not even real. But obviously there's a bunch of real people, real athletes, real business people, real YouTubers even that I look up to and I try to emulate and I idolize. But it's kind of weird that a lot of the time most of my the people I look up to and stuff like that, or things I try to draw, or people I try to draw things from, are characters that are just characters in shows and movies and stuff like that. But I think it's true for a lot of people. The next question is coming in from Mark, who writes, Dear Nero, hope you had a good birthday. I did, Mark. Thank you. Continuing on here, wondering what is your opinion on the headquarters feature looking back at Call of Duty World War II? I love the feature, and I think it could have been great if expanded upon in the newer games, but it seems to have been forgotten and left behind. Yeah, unfortunately, Mark, I did a video on this a while ago, and I might do another one here in the future, but how can they have something as cool as the headquarters and then not do it again? I mean, same time period, same developer, no headquarters. Oh, wait, yeah, it's because we don't have supply drops. It's almost as if the entire headquarters was just this front to make it so you had to watch other people open supply drops, so you would therefore be more keen and more open to the idea of buying them for yourself. Maybe that was their entire plan all along. I mean, honestly, that probably was the entire plan. But the headquarters itself, a byproduct of that was the headquarters was awesome. And I would love to see it return at some point in the future. I mean, how are we going to have so much character customization in COD these days and no social space of any kind? It really doesn't make any sense. The next question is coming in from Cloaker, who writes, Dear Nero, what are your thoughts on Halo Infinite releasing 3 weeks early? Also, will you play the campaign? So Cloaker, I've never played through an entire Halo campaign. I would do some co-op Halo back in the day, but I never was into Halo, really. When I got an Xbox initially, I didn't have the original. I got an Xbox 360. And when I got it, COD 4 was out. And so Call of Duty was always my thing right away. I didn't play the original Halos, the old school Halos or anything like that. So I'm not nostalgic for Halo the same way that, like, you know, a lot of other people are. So I played a bit of Halo Infinite right now. I think they're changing it. I think they announced some updates. But when I played the beta, quote unquote, of it that released 3 weeks early, there was nothing to do. There was nothing to do at all. There's like virtually no like leveling or progression outside of the battle pass. Like, in fact, the only way to level up your battle pass was like to do challenges and stuff like that. Like, there's no actual rank for your character. It made no sense. And the gameplay is fine. I don't know enough about Halo to say if it's better or worse than previous Halos, but it seemed Halo-y. And I had a couple decent games. And I'm like, I'm already done. Like, I have no real interest in this because Halo is never really my game. But I'm interested to see what it's going to be like as they actually update it and add more things to it in the near future. The next question is going to be coming out from Sean, who writes, Dear Nero, do you ever think that Call of Duty will go back to the traditional prestige and challenge system, or are we stuck with this now? That's a good question. I think it will eventually go back to the original prestige system and the original challenge system. And I think they're going to make a big deal of it when they actually do go back to it. I think once they eventually go back, they're going to say, traditional prestige, no level caps, this, that, and the other thing. All those things we took away, we're giving back. You know, I think they're eventually going to do that, which is obscene. I don't know. It's like when they took away supply drops. They're like, hey, we got rid of that problem that we created. Aren't you guys happy? Or remember when Robert Bowling was so excited during the announcements of Modern Warfare 3 that he's like, no Last Stand, fuck you, Last Stand. Also, we added Final Stand as a death streak, but fuck you, Last Stand. It's like, you guys keep creating problems and then fixing the problems and then acting like we should be stoked on it. I will be happy when they go back to regular prestige. I'll probably be praising it because I want traditional original prestige mode to come back. I want normal challenges to come back with a proper 100%er. I want all of those things, but I do think that we're going to have another year or so like this, because right now Warzone's the golden goose and basically everything has to be just like Warzone. But I think in a year or so, things are eventually going to become different, and you know, eventually they're going to have to move away from Warzone because they're seeing the sales. You know, Modern Warfare sold good, but it didn't sell that great compared to the older CODs, right? And then after that, Cold War sold horribly compared to Modern Warfare, and now Vanguard is the worst launch in the UK since 2007. The worst Call of Duty launch week since 2007 in the UK. Like, that's nuts, dude. That is insane. And so eventually, they're being hit in the wall pretty hard right now. So eventually, some changes are going to have to happen. The next and final question is going to be coming in from Anime Nerd, what a name, who writes, Dear Nero, what do you think Treyarch's next game will be like? Well, the leaks and rumors are suggesting that it's going to be kind of like a Black Ops 2, like a near-futuristic kind of a vibe, and that's what I predict them to actually do. I don't see them going back to the Cold War. I don't see them going back to Vietnam. I don't see them going back to World War II, obviously, and with Infinity Ward literally making games titled Modern Warfare, I don't see them, trying to interfere with that really whatsoever. So I definitely see them going semi-futuristic with their next game. What they're actually going to do, we're going to have to wait and see. But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There is this week's episode of Dear Nero. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you all so much for listening, and stay tuned for many, many more videos going up here on the channel over the course of the coming days. I have a lot of catching up to do. I take one day off, and suddenly, bam, we're just like, there's an entire fiasco happening over there at Activision, so I'll do my best to cover that and all the other things happening in the Call of Duty world as of right now. But until then, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.